Hello, everyone. We're going to get started in a minute. Thank you for joining us. Let everybody arrive. We'll give it a minute and then we're going to get started. While we're waiting for everyone to arrive, anything you want to say in the chat, that's always open. Things you want to talk about today, things you want to see for an upcoming class, and a little bit of a feedback. Anything you want to say as far as days or times that would work better for you than this particular day. If you want to see us do a newsletter, where do you want to see us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube? Where do you go for information? Where would you like to see us? So hi, Rachel. Yeah, everybody's on mute at the moment. So yeah, if you have anything to say, go ahead, just type it in the chat. Good. Okay, good. So again, anything you want to say, feedback, we'll do it during the program as well. But where do you go for your information? What would you like to see us do? Would you like a newsletter to go out? Do you want more live events? Do you want us to do a health fair? Days and times that are better for you than possibly Wednesday night at 6 p.m. So anything you want to say, we'll definitely take that into consideration. And we're going to get started in 1 minute, just waiting for a few other people here to log in and get themselves settled. And we're going to start tonight's masterclass. So very exciting. A lot of great new information, of course, and we're going to get into some more detailed topics, a little bit more delicate topic as well. So I told a lot of you as the masterclass proceeds, we're going to get into some things that are very politically incorrect as far as nutrition is concerned, and getting at the truths and exposing the myths. So, okay, good. So yes, wherever you are, we just want to know postcards. Maybe you want a postcard, maybe you want a snail mail. So thanks for your feedback in the chat here. So go ahead and just, whatever you want to say. Again, whether it's something you want to talk about here today or maybe at a future masterclass, by all means, just put everything in the chat there. And it looks like we have just about everyone in here. So we're going to get started in just a second. Okay, good. All right, great. All right, so the first thing I want to do is wrap up a little bit of what we had talked about last week. I'm not going to reiterate the whole class, but we were talking about the food and the quality of the foods and what had happened to our food sources. And I just want to tie that into the segment that I want to go into today. So as a reminder, if you haven't done so already, if you haven't purchased this Back to the Basics of Human Health book, if you need the link for that, if you haven't started reading it, please go ahead and catch up to us. We are going to be starting on page 16 today, which again is a little bit more information from the last time. And again, like I said, it's going to be a beautiful segue into what I want to cover here today. So you can just listen along, and I'm just going to highlight a few key things here. So we were talking about what happened to our foods and our food sources and what the major problems are. And it also goes back to, on page 16 here, the chemicalization of our foods. So not only have we ruined the soil and we've ruined the land and the air, we've also now added in poisons and chemicals into the food that 100 years ago weren't allowed. So within a generation from World War I, this is literally from the book, the foods of commerce, and it's the equivalent of the FDA and other government bodies right now, the foods of commerce took over the marketplace. The food supply became bleached, refined, chemically preserved, pasteurized, sterilized, homogenized, hydrogenated, artificially colored, defibered, highly sugared, highly salted, synthetically fortified, canned, and generally exposed to hundreds of new man-made chemicals. So part of the health situations you're struggling with, part of the reason you can't lose weight, it's not a food thing, nor is it a calorie thing. It's an unfortunate situation of a quality thing, so that these chemicals, when they get into the fatty tissue, they can't get back out. So your fat cells can be getting bigger and bigger despite having a low caloric intake or working out like a maniac 2 hours a day or whatever the case may be. And if you have chemicals stuck in the fatty tissue, it doesn't come out any more readily than anything else that might be stuck in the fatty tissue. And because these are man-made substances, the body doesn't recognize it. It sees it as a foreign substance and doesn't really know what to do with it. So the body's like, all right, stick it in the fatty tissue, stick it in the breast tissue, put it in her joint spaces. Like, just let's get it out of the way because we don't know what to do with it. And it is an unfortunate truth to what's happening as far as the quality of the food sources. So not only is it the food items themselves, it's also the chemicalization of those food items. So that's quite unfortunate and is a huge part of the story. Now, part of what we're going to get into is like, how did this happen? And we'll talk about that in just a second. But another quote here is from, unfortunately, Bad Science or Bad Studies. Is one particular medical doctor made this quote, which really made things worse. It says, "It is wholly unscientific to state that a well-fed body is more able to resist disease than a less well-fed body," meaning food doesn't matter. And nothing can be further from the truth. So as we talked about in other master classes, what do you think makes this machine run? So what makes your car run? Fuel. What makes your body run? Fuel. And fuel, ours is food, and a car, it's gasoline or the electric pump, so to speak, for the electric cars. But there's an energy or a fuel source. And for us as humans, this comes from food. So nothing could be further from the truth when we're talking about the quality of the fuel sources from the last master class. So we're going to get into that. And then what I want to do is go on to the next page. And it talks about the persecution of a doctor, Dr. Royal Lee, who was a brilliant cutting edge nutrition doctor. He was trained officially and had a dental practice. But he realized and he saw the tooth decay rather rapidly in his patients. And he saw the demise of health in his patients in general. And he's thinking there must be some connection. And so he did some research on that. And he was already a nerd because by the age of 12, he had already documented and filed everything that was known about natural health and nutrition. So he was a nerd right out of the gate. And so we have a great appreciation for him. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about him in just a minute. It goes on here then with the adulteration of the oils, the introduction of these trans fats, and then how that was also a demise in our health. And the unfortunate truth of things such as statistics, like despite all of this touting of how healthy we are and how awesome we are as a country, the United States ranks 74th in the world of infant mortality. So you have to realize that means 73 other countries are better than we are. And we think of us being such cutting edge with our neonatal ICUs and our huge hospitals across the country. And 74th isn't very good considering supposedly we're at the top of our game. And I can't even imagine, there's not even, as you know, 71 first world countries, which means there's some second and third world countries that beat us out, and we got to be 74. So there are definitely some myths that we're being told about the quality of our health and healthcare in this country. And one of the biggest things that I want to wrap up and we're going to lead into today's discussion is the subject of water. And unfortunately, water is definitely a vehicle of where they put poisons, and unfortunately, drug residues can be found. So our water is not safe. And one of the biggest lies we're being told about our water is the fluoride myth. And even if, and there is some truth to fluoride actually protecting your teeth, it's not the fluoride that they're putting in your water. So when these original studies came out and they said, oh, it looks like fluoride is a contributing factor to strong bones and healthy teeth, etc., the actual substance and what we're going to be talking about in detail today is every chemical word has two words. So for example, when someone tells me they're taking magnesium, my question is what kind? And they're like, I don't know, magnesium. So in science, in nutrition, in biochemistry, there's always a second word. So for example, the best type of magnesium, if you are going to take it, that actually the body can utilize is magnesium lactate. So if you're taking caltrate or citrate or any of the other ones, it is a form of magnesium, but it's not as recognizable or utilizable by the body as the actual natural source, which is magnesium lactate. And the same falls true with this whole fluoride situation, that what they discovered is that it's called calcium fluoride, which is the key kind of fluoride that's natural in the earth. It is absorbed into the vegetables that we eat, and therefore our natural teeth protection comes in the form of calcium fluoride that's found from the soil. Now, what the government did is they wanted to put the fluoride in the water, but unfortunately, calcium fluoride was very expensive. So they're like, all right, well, we'll put in fluoride, but we're going to put in sodium fluoride, which is not the same as calcium fluoride. One is biodegradable by the body, and the other one is not. One is a natural substance that can be utilized by the body, and the other one is a poison. So I'm not for putting anything in my water that doesn't belong there. So we're not going to get into the debate of calcium fluoride versus sodium fluoride. It's just a matter of seeing where this has gone off the rails and where they're counting on you not being an informed consumer, that you didn't know to ask the question of, oh, great, water supply, government agency, you'd like to put fluoride in my water? Great. May I ask what kind? And then they're going to stand there with a deer in the headlights. They're like, what? What do you mean, what kind? They probably don't even know. And that's quite an unfortunate truth as well. So interestingly enough, a study done way back in 1990 already concluded that drinking fluoridated water doubles the incidence of hip fractures in older women. So when we're seeing all of this extra, an increased osteoporosis, and people are asking, what could I do? And the answer a lot of times is not drink the water you've been drinking for 30 years. So unfortunately, people want a present time handling, and some of the mistakes and errors that we're all making and why we're doing this masterclass is that so when it becomes a situation or preventing a situation, you have to look sometimes 10, 20, or even 30 years prior to where the actual downfall began. So again, why we're doing this masterclass. So what I want to get into for today's discussion is the synthetic vitamins and how that relates to whole food and natural sources. So if you haven't gone up to this in your book, on page 29 is where the synthetic vitamins start. And we're going to chat about this today. And if you haven't had a chance to read this far into the book, just continue on and try to catch up. But I want to give you a few quotes and show you a few things on what occurred and how this got us into trouble. So just give me a second here, and I want to get our first thing that I want to break up for you. And this is going back to Royal Lee. And let me grab that for you. Okay, good. And I'm going to share this with you now. Make sure I have everything. Where's my mouse? Excellent. Good. So let me grab this for you. So going back to Royal Lee, who we just mentioned, we're going to get into him in detail, but this is a great quote on what occurred. So he says here, we have drifted into this deplorable position of national malnutrition quite inadvertently. It is the result of scientific research with the objective of finding the best ways to create foods that are non-perishable, that can be made by mass production methods in central factories, and distributed so cheaply they can sweep all local competition from the market. And they've actually already achieved that. So we don't have any mom and pop stores anymore. Everything's commercialized, it's franchised, etc. Then after there develops a suspicion, and I'm hoping everyone watching and joining us here today has this suspicion, and it's part of why you're in this masterclass, is like, gee, I think there might be something wrong here, that these quote foods, because at this point they're not even foods, are inadequate to support life. Modern advertising science steps in to propagandize the people into believing that there's nothing wrong with them, that they are the products of scientific research intended to afford a food that is the last word in nutritive value. And the confused public, all of us, not knowing what to believe. The one company says this is good. The one other company says this is bad. One company says buy my brand. The other company says no, buy my brand. What it leaves us at here, what it says is we are totally unable to arrive at any conclusion of fact, and therefore continues to blindly buy the rubbish that is killing them years ahead of their time. Now, this is an amazing quote, and I love this. And the best thing about this quote is take a look at when Royal Lee said this. This was back in 1943. So this isn't even anything new or a shocker. This goes back to already the 1940s. And if Royal Lee said that in 1943, imagine when he actually had that realization before he actually wrote it down and said, wow, we have a problem here. He must have observed it even beforehand. So we're coming up on a good 80 to 90 years of myths and lies that we had talked about in the last master class, that we have been told, that our parents have been told, and as you see now, our grandparents have been told. So it explains a lot of why we don't know how to be healthy, and the things that our parents, the school system, and everyone's teaching us are incorrect is because they're based on bad science and false information in order to propagandize. How about that for a word? That's a pretty harsh word, especially for 1943. So imagine the magnitude of what they were seeing then, and imagine what it's like today, with that being just exponential almost 80 to 90 years later. So we definitely have a major problem. So in keeping with that, I want to give you another quote that goes along with this. And I love this one. It's a little bit harsh, but I want to share it. And it's from Mark Twain here. And it says, it's easier to fool people than convince them that they have been fooled. And that's a lot of what we're looking at is no one wants to admit they possibly are doing the wrong thing. No one wants to be a fool. I don't want to be a fool. But it gets to the point where it's actually easier to fool people and just tell them to do these things than it actually is. What we're trying to do here is tell you, unfortunately, you've been fooled at least once. But the whole idea is not to get fooled again. And that's a lot of what we're going to be getting into in details and in more magnitude here in the master class. So we're going to talk about that for sure. So just to give you a taste on how this propaganda works, I'm going to show you a video, and then I hope the sound works because I did the 12 o'clock class today and it didn't work. So just bear with me and see what happened to my sound. But we're going to be talking about the quality of things and how this propaganda really comes about. So let me go grab you a video. And who this is a guy on TikTok. And his name is Matt, and he does videos and he makes junk food looks like health food. So just to see how you can be kind of coerced. So we're going to use, let's see here. He did one on Dr. Pepper. He made Dr. Pepper, the soda, a health food. So let's go see.
Rebrand Dr. Pepper.
Okay, we're going to get this rebranded. Hang tight here.
First, we're going to
Good.
First things.
Can I hit pause? Go. Give me 1 second. So let me see if I can get all you. Hold on, I have all kinds of things in front of my camera here. So hold on, good. So I'm going to share the screen. We're going to get this up and we're going to watch this guy together. And then let me make sure, hopefully you can all hear this. So give me 1 second to make sure this works. Okay, good. So let's go to this guy. So let me just hit rewind here and hopefully you can hear. So.
Like a health food. Let's do it. First things first, we're going to repackage the Dr. Pepper in a tall, skinny can. And I actually like the name Dr. Pepper, but I'm going to rename this one completely to make it feel a little bit healthier. Since Dr. Pepper is advertised for having 23 flavors, I'm going to call this Balance, cola with a perfect blend of 23 flavors. The word balance in this case just means that the flavors are balanced, but I like that in the sense that it feels like a healthier sounding name. And Dr. Pepper apparently is just named after a doctor. It wasn't created by a doctor, but people don't need to know that. So we're going to add Dr. Formulated. Let's add fat-free and low sodium, both true of Dr. Pepper. And this is obviously still looking very boring. So let's add some color to this. To go off the balance theme, I'm going to balance some red and blue on here. Make the bottom kind of like a sunrise. Give it that kind of meditative feeling. And lastly, I'm going to add flavored by nature. Dr. Pepper actually has natural and artificial flavors. So when I say flavored by nature, underneath it, I will just add naturally and artificially flavored. We'll just make that tiny. And there we have our brand new healthy soda, Balanced by Dr. Pepper. Let me know how I did and challenge me with your ideas for what I should rebrand next time.
Okay, so let me see if I can get out of here now. Good. So let's go back. Okay, good. So first, in the chat, could everybody hear that? So I hope so, because it didn't work this afternoon. So that's just one example of this propaganda on how you can take something and you can twist it any way you would like. So definitely this is a problem. And that's only one of many examples of how you can get yourself in major trouble is they can position and they can make anything, a health food, look bad, and they can make a bad food look healthy. So they're really good at marketing and just kind of doing a lot of play on words, as you saw with that can of Dr. Pepper. So that's what we're running into. So what we want to do then is move into then we were talking about this 2 words, and not only is this a problem with food, what I want to concentrate on today is how this equivocates over to the supplements you might be taking. And Royal Lee, as we saw, a great quote. We're going to talk more about him in just a second. But I have another great video that I want to talk about with the quality of supplements, and that is a huge situation. And the problem with the quality with supplements is, again, they are counting on you not knowing the quote second word. So let me give you an example, and then we're going to watch some videos on how this plays out. So let's use echinacea for an example. So echinacea, people are like, oh yeah, echinacea for your immune system. I'm like, okay, great. And then the next question is, well, what kind of echinacea? And again, you're like, I don't know, just echinacea. Well, I mean, what do you mean? What kind of echinacea? So if you take a look at all the research from over 100 years now, if you take a look at what they used for the study and where they saw the health benefits or the immune benefits, you will see that they only used echinacea root, R-O-O-T, meaning the root part of the plant. Now, you do not get any of those therapeutic benefits from eating the stem or the leaf or any other part. It's only the root. So what they're counting on is that you don't know that you only need certain parts. And then when you go to your local store and it says echinacea in big letters on the front, they're hoping or assuming you're not going to flip the bottle around and read what kind of echinacea. So there, it's literally useless. Like it has $0 value. So when you go to some of these chain stores or discounted stores and it says echinacea and it's $2.99 or it's $10.99, what they're counting on is that you don't know the quality that you're getting. So when you're looking at, well, why are some vitamins so expensive? Or patients ask me, how come your echinacea actually is more than the one I can get at the local store? Is like the answer is because the one I offer actually has root in it, and that's the only part that actually boosts or supports your immune system in any way. So let's take a look then what the vitamin industry looks like a little bit here. And we're going to show you how vitamins are made. So again, the things they're counting on you not knowing. So we're looking at quality vitamins, vitamins that come from whole food. That is our goal. But a lot of these companies that make it in bulk and mass production are counting on you not knowing where the vitamins come from. So let's take a look at that right now. So let me get that on the screen. Okay, good. And this is what they don't want you to know. And this is a real video, by the way. So let's just go here. Let me make sure you can hear. It's not important to hear this one.
Here. So we have all of our kitting ingredients here behind us.
Okay, so look at that. That looks like a warehouse to me. That doesn't exactly look where I want my vitamins to come from.
Once they're ready, they'll pull that pallet and bring.
All right, and I'm scared of green containers. I thought green was bad here when in blue. I don't know. I'm feeling a little scared here. So this is not what we're looking for as far as our quality. This is what are known as synthetic vitamins. And if you're not familiar with synthetic vitamins, we're going to be talking more about those in just a minute. So there definitely is a quality issue that, again, these companies are hoping or expecting you not to know about. So before we get to the next video, so you can see what we do want, I'm going to give you a quick story. I had the fortune of being at a party many years ago with quite a lot of wealthy people, both from the United States and Europe. And as you know, you're at a party and you're trying to get to know people and be social, like, oh, hi, you know, what's your name and what do you do for a living? And I ended up next to a gentleman that actually said that he owns a vitamin company in Europe. And it's so funny because instead of going, oh, I'm in nutrition as well, I didn't for some reason. I don't know, but you'll see how it works out to my benefit in the end. And I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, where? You know, and he's like, oh, Europe. I'm like, wow. I was like, well, you know, what do you do? Or, you know, what kind of vitamins do you sell or whatever? He's like, well, we're actually the distributor. So he's like, what we do, and if you can picture this, he's like, my company looks like an old train roundabout. So remember in the old days, or maybe you saw a picture that a roundabout is where all the trains would back into. And then like, let's say the coal or whatever they were transporting would be in the center. And then they'd shovel that into the trains. And then the trains would go out in different directions. One would go north, south, east, west, you know, to the different parts of country or the different parts of Europe. And he said that my company is set up exactly the same way as the roundhouse, because the big barrel of vitamins are just sitting in the middle. And all we do is just put them in the different trucks. The only thing that's different is the sticker label that we put on depending on which truck it's going to. So what you have is the big containers of vitamins and then all the individual company sticker labels. And then outside of that are the actual trucks. And he said, so therefore, he's like, if you buy the discounted brand of B1 or vitamin B, and it's $2.99, he's like, it comes from the same barrel as the one that you're paying $49.99 from some exquisite high-end supplement line. He's like, it's all coming out of the same barrel. The only thing that's different is the label. So I was completely shocked. And as you can see, it was probably to my benefit. I didn't tell the guy who I was. He was like, wow, thank you for that information. But these are the things that they don't want you to know. And this is how the industry actually works. So what we want to get into is food-based supplements, ones that we actually know where they came from. So let's go ahead and watch that video now. And let me get that on the screen for you. So let's go there. So this is what I want you to see.
Dr. Lee really believed that the best source of nutrients comes from whole foods, and hence the reason why we have our farms and why we process these whole foods right here. It all starts on the farm. It starts with raw materials.
Well, it's standard process. When we say whole food, we mean it. And the whole food starts right here on our organic farm. I think one of the things in America that is really challenging right now is there are only about 1 to 2% of us left on the land farming. And that means that most of America has come very far from where their food is originated from. They said the average meal in America travels 1,500 miles to our plate. And we're more like 1,500 yards away from our process, right? So we have this beautiful luxury too of we harvest and it's right here. We have so much impact on the quality of this food because of the many multiple layers of vertical integration.
We know where our products came from. We know where the seed came from. We know where our raw materials come from because we produce them. So we can control, and there's no question about what went into them.
And when you have control over all the way from the soil sample to the bottle, think of the possibilities.
We come at things from a different perspective and look at our soil health in a different way. We know that we have to have the best soils, the healthiest soils that we can have in order to get the most out of our plants.
We have this team of research scientists behind our decisions. And so nothing is really done at random here.
Taking the equipment, adapting it, setting it, fine tuning it to getting that seed in the soil to get it to grow the best it can from when it germinates to when we harvest it.
And we know specifically by the crop and by the variety when peak nutrition is, what stage of maturity.
R&D has had us grow a variety of different things, turnip greens or cilantro or blue corn. We always grow them, harvest them, get them up to the plant so they can break them down in the research and development department and really break down what nutrients those plants might give us versus what we're doing now. It's truly amazing that this company's been around 90 years and is still innovating the way that we're innovating.
If Dr. Lee were here today, I think he'd be really pleased with how we keep his whole food philosophy alive. And not only alive, but how we've taken it to that next level, how we've enhanced it, how we've shown with our research team and everything else, how whole food supplements and those whole food nutrients are so much more important to health.
Okay, so I hope that helps as far as what we're talking about here. And this is what we're really getting into here is about the synthetic vitamins versus the natural and the whole food. So a lot of times I get asked, interestingly enough, is like, well, Dr. Lori, why is this, kind of like, why are your products better or your products versus my products? And first of all, they're not my products. I don't own a vitamin company. What I've done, and for those of you who know me, I'm a perfectionist, and I spent 30 years of my life finding the best of the best. And there's about 20 companies that have this same philosophy as the Standard Process viewpoint, as the Royal Lee, who is the owner of Standard Process, and the quote I gave you before. But you could see, what did they say in there? What we talked about last week, it comes down to the soil. That's where the nutrition is. So that's what we're looking at here as far as what we're trying to achieve. And then the ultimate clinical success, the better quality of your product, the more I can guarantee 100% clinical improvement, because that's really why I go through all this trouble. It doesn't really matter to me what supplement does the trick. I just need to want to guarantee that if I'm telling you we are going to handle your hormones, your hot flashes, your migraines, your constipation, I need products that I can 100% rely on that are going to give me these clinical improvements. And that's why after 30 years of somewhat trial and error, the the 20 companies that I deal with are the ones that are tried and true every time, all the time, because they all share this similar viewpoint and philosophy. So it's not a matter of my company versus your company or the products I offer versus the ones you're taking. What we're looking at is you need to be a better label reader. I'm going to ask you the source. What does this company that you are taking their vitamins from, what does their soil look like? You know, some questions like soil. What do you mean soil? You know, so you're getting to see what the industry really looks like behind the scenes. So that's what we're going to be talking about in detail. So a few more examples. The B vitamin is one where definitely it's an issue as far as the quality. And with the B vitamins, what it is most B vitamins come from something known as coal tar. And when you boil coal, you know how it turns to a liquid and it's all goopy and sticky. And then there's kind of this scum or sludge, so to speak, that as it boils kind of rises to the top. It's waste product. So what they do is they scrape that off, and then coal tar goes on to becoming other things, such as actual tar for pavements and other uses in the more industrialized companies. But then they have this waste product. And interestingly enough, what it is, and now it's not B1 in its whole food form, it's B1 as thiamine. It's kind of, it's one of the nutrients that's left over in the sludge. So what they do is they scrape off that sludge, and then they send that off to the vitamin factories, and then they tablet that and they call it vitamin B1 when it's actually coal tar sludge. So I'm not thinking that's the best way if I have a B vitamin deficiency and I'm trying to handle something. It doesn't seem like the best way to go about it. So that's just another example. We talked about the echinacea. You can do the same thing with magnesium. It's the same is true for calcium. It's the second word that's most important. It's calcium what? And the actually most digestible form of calcium is actually calcium lactate. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you an article that has this. And if you want, I can send this to you, because what we're also going to be doing is I created a private link on my website that has this information from all of these master classes. So these videos will never be reproduced, as you can see, considering the delicate nature of their subject matter. But I can give you the documents and the articles, the charts, and the bibliography of where this information came from. So that will be accessible on my website, and it'll build week to week. So I'll definitely be giving you that. And let me go, and I'll give you the link right now. Some of them are there, some of them are not. I'm going to put that in the chat so you can take a look at that. But that's where the materials are going to be. And then let's go get that article that I wanted to share with you. So just give me 1 second to go bring that up and see if I can find it. So I have all kinds of goodies. Let's see where it is. So let's see. Give me 1 minute here. So make sure I have so many goodies that I want to share, and there's so many like popping up on my screen. So just give me 1 minute to find the one I want. Okay, good. This is the one I want. Okay, good. So let me share this with you. And again, this is going to be an article. It's not yet available, but it will be here. And is it this guy? Let's go here. Yes. Okay, good. So this is an article I give to all of my patients, because now many of you are wondering, like, well, should I keep taking the supplements I'm on? And the answer is, well, yes, for now. But two, maybe not. Maybe you want to after you finish reading the article or we're done with this master class. Or three, not sure. So after reading this and further discussing what you're on, then maybe it's going to be not sure, and that note 4, it might turn into a no. So it all depends. It depends on, again, the questions we're asking and the quality of the supplements that you're taking. So this is an article. I'm not going to read it all to you, but the goal is to give your body what it needs. So what are the raw materials? What's going to make your heart pump? What's going to make your, the hot flashes go away? What's going to keep your hormones balanced? The answer is that they must come from food or whole food supplements. And you can see now why you need those key ingredients. And in this article here, it talks about the different problems and what they're doing. And we're going to talk in detail about vitamin C as in cookie and vitamin E as in Edward in just a second. So, but just let's go through the article. This particular article talks about where the food comes from, words you need to look at on the label, and how it actually is a very large misrepresentation of the actual contents in your vitamin or the bottle. And then here again are some studies that where this information came from. So as always, I don't consider myself source. I try and find you the source materials. And some of this information came from places like the American Academy of Applied Nutrition Nutrition and the New England Journal of Medicine and the British Journal of Chemistry and Physiology. We're not talking about some underground, non-existent or hidden newsletter that's going around. This is from, published articles and journals and respected communities that are saying this about the vitamin industry. And then what I also give you here, it's not a complete list. There are some samples in the Back to the Basics book. Again, we're going to go back to that in just a moment. But you can see here where the natural comes from and the words that they put on the label. So for example, the natural source of B1 is from yeast, and the synthetic source is called thiamine mononitrate, and or thiamine hydrochloride. So you have to start becoming a better label reader and know the words that you're looking for, because they make a huge difference in the quality of the ingredients. So we have this information. I will put that up for your reference, and we'll get into that in just a moment. So what we're going to do is revisit the book, and there's a few more things I want to share with you. And we're continuing on now with these synthetic vitamins. And again, that starts on page 29. And what we're going to talk about here, we talked already a little bit about why the natural food complex is faded from view. And so much of what it is, or in my opinion, the number one answer is always money. Because it's cheaper to sell you coal tar than actually go grow beets in Wisconsin. So it definitely comes down to the financial component. And then you have scientists who are scientists and not doctors and not nutritionists. And they're saying, oh, a vitamin is a vitamin. If it looks kind of sort of like a duck and quacks maybe a little bit like a duck, good enough, it's a duck. And the body knows the difference. And that's what we're really looking at here. Doesn't matter what science says or what they can reproduce in a lab. What I need to do as a healthcare practitioner is reproduce it in a body, patient to patient, time after time, year after year. And where you really get these therapeutic benefits and long-lasting results with any of your health issues is from these whole food or good quality supplements, knowing not only the first word, but also the second word, which is key in knowing what the quality is. So let's take a look then. There's a picture in the book, and we're going to look at vitamin C and E specifically to really drive home this point and educate you on what we're looking at here. This is one of my favorite pictures here, so I love this one. Okay, good. Let me go grab that. And I'm going to share this with you, I hope. So hold on one second. Let's go here, share. I'll go this way. So share, and then where is it? So let's try. We'll start here. Good. So let's see. That's not what you want. That's not going to help you. That's not going to help you. Let me go see if I can find it. There it is. Okay, good. Perfect. All right. So here we have what vitamin C and vitamin E look like in a very basic schematic. It's just a drawing, but you'll get the point. And at the top here, we have vitamin E. And here's the problem with not knowing what you're taking or asking more questions about vitamin E. So what you can see, there are some concentric circles. And in the first circle, it says delta tocopherol, then it says gamma tocopherol, beta tocopherol, and alpha tocopherol. And those four layers of the vitamin E molecule are actually just the shell or the coating, just like the egg shell is the shell. So we don't eat the shell, we eat the nutrition inside the egg, which is in the egg white and the egg yolk. And then where the actual nutrition in the vitamin E molecule is found is deep down in where you see the word phytonutrients, enzymes, coenzyme Q10, and then key components such as E2, E3, F1, F2. I don't have the time to explain to what those are, but just know that they're the pieces of the nutrient that are actually important. And there's some undiscovered things here. So the wonderful thing about standard process is every time a study comes out, like, hey, guess what? We found a new part of the vitamin E that we didn't know existed. And if you're not taking this kind of vitamin E supplement, you're missing it. And when standard process goes back and looks at their products, because they're so great quality and they come from whole food, every time the new study comes out, it's already in the vitamin E. So when my patients say, hey, I just read a new study about vitamin E and that I should be taking it and it should have this in it, it's like, does it? We can go look and be like, yeah, vitamin E from standard process has had that in since about 1935. So it's really great to see that, nature definitely knows better. So the problem is that what the what's on the shelf in the store are the words to the left. So very common is the D tocopherol or the DL alpha tocopherol. Basically, what they're selling you is the eggshell and telling you that it's the egg. And then they're telling you or insisting you should be able to make scrambled eggs out of the eggshell. And you can, you know that, but they're not, counting on you knowing and understanding body biochemistry and how nutrients and nutrition actually works. The same is true for vitamin C. Look at the outer shell of vitamin C. What is the shell? You see the word there as the line goes up as ascorbic acid. And when you go and flip over your label, what's the most common source of vitamin C? What does it say? It'll say in parentheses, vitamin C in the form of ascorbic acid. So again, they sold you the shell. And it's not until you get into the other layers that you see words like phytonutrients, enzymes, coenzymes, undiscovered factors. And then the most important parts of what you need to see on the label are words like ascorbigen and bioflavonoid complexes and tyrosinase and P, K, and J factors. Again, I don't have time to explain what all those are, but these are the words that when you flip over the label for your bottle, what you need to see. So if it says vitamin E in the form of some kind of tocopherol, you got the eggshell. If you see vitamin C and it says in the form of ascorbic acid, you got the shell, you didn't get the good nutrition. So these are the kind of things that they're counting on you not knowing. This is why when people say, let me go back here, get off there. This is why when people say, why are your products possibly more expensive? And interesting enough, a lot of times they're not. And then when you actually, count it out per pill, and then you take a look at the quality, it actually is a very, cost comparative. The other thing too is where they're lying to. There's just so many. We're going to be here for 10 weeks worth of master classes. Is a lot of times what they say is when you see, we'll go back to the echinacea, and it says on the label echinacea, and then down at the bottom it says 1,000 milligrams per capsule. Do you know that's actually not the amount of echinacea in the capsule? What they're telling you is how much whatever powder is in there weighs. So they're not saying it's 1,000 milligrams. Talk about, the deceitful labeling as we saw with the soda. It's 1,000 milligrams or 1,000 grams or whatever. 1,000 grams would be heavy, but 1,000 milligrams of something in the capsule. And then when you flip the bottle over and it says echinacea, and I guarantee it's not going to say root, it's going to say stem, leaf, or whatever, there's going to be another number, and it's going to say like 2 grams or 5 grams or 25 grams. So basically they told you that they sold you echinacea, not the root, which is wrong right there. And then even what they put in there, they only put in 5 grams out of 1,000 milligrams or whatever the weight is of actual whatever that mystery substance is. So again, these are the things that they're counting on you're not knowing. And it's why, when I see everyone, and I validate your efforts of trying to get your information online and following influencers on social media and trying to do internet searches and figure out nutrition yourself. But now you're getting to see and understand the anatomy, the physiology, the biology, and the biochemistry of how and the nutrition and your body actually works, and why I do with it for a living. And then you might get lucky once in a while and find a product or find something online that works. But when you're talking about genuine wellness and total optimal health, that's not going to be achieved by winging it and putting some things together. So I hope that's really helping to put that together. So that picture as well, by the way, is in the book on page 33. So that's where I got it from for everyone to see. And then you see here that what they did is the studies on not only that you're not getting the good stuff. The other problem with these synthetic vitamins is, besides the fact they're not doing anything, they might actually be causing harm. And how they cause harm is that when you saw that shell, all the different pieces, your body needs to have all of those present in order to metabolize and excrete the product. So for example, if you take vitamin C in the form of ascorbic acid and it's missing all the other C components, your body has to go steal all of that nutrition to negate out the ascorbic acid. So there's a good chance it's actually harming you or creating further nutritional deficiencies in what it takes to biochemically finish its job and then be metabolized and hopefully excreted out by the small intestine to the large intestine, and then via the bowels and or via the bladder. So some of this material actually just accumulates because the body sees these non-food substances as toxins and treats it like a toxin. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Let's go shove it in our joints. Let's go put it again in our breast tissue. We don't know what this is. It kind of sort of looks like vitamin C, but it actually isn't. And everybody on the inside, I know I'm being silly, but in my universe, you know, these organs talk to each other. So the spleen's like, what's this? I don't know what to do with this. And the pancreas is like, I don't want it. And the liver's like, well, I don't want it either. I got other things to do. So it kind of gets rolled around and just causes harm. So the whole idea is actually being on nutrition that actually your body recognizes and actually, of course, can utilize. So very important to the process. So the one last thing I want to kind of end with here as far as examples, just so I can really drive this home. And this happens a lot when people are trying to self-prescribe. And the problem is even if you do have whole food nutrition, there's a very good chance it won't work if you're doing it kind of what I call cookie cutter or based on some protocol or guessing, for lack of a better way to put it. Because let's say, for example, I all of a sudden, Dr. Lori, started mailing you a roll of toilet paper in the mail every day. And you went out to your mail and there's this roll of toilet paper and it's from me. And you're like, why is she sending me toilet paper? But just go with me for a minute here. And then the next day you get another roll. And then the next day you get another roll. And then week after week, month after month, I've sent you all of this toilet paper. Till finally you call me up and you're like, Dr. Lori, what's with all the toilet paper? I was like, thank you, I guess. But I don't really need all this toilet paper. It's like, I know it has a purpose and a value, but I don't need all this. What are you trying to do? Well, that, you're not going to accept any answer I say, but the point being is that that's when you're taking supplements your body doesn't need. So it's like giving your body a roll of toilet paper and everybody on the inside is like, why is she giving us all this vitamin C? Are we supposed to be doing with something? There's no way, because even though you read online and the article said, oh, take vitamin C for your immune system. You don't just gobble it down and then magically on the inside, the body's like, oh, she's taking vitamin C. We're going to automatically know and assume she's going to want us to help our immune system. Great. Go send that down to the immune system. It's more of the toilet paper example. And if you're taking synthetic vitamins, I'm not even mailing you a roll of toilet paper. I'm rolling you that cardboard in the middle. Then you would be really confused. So if you're wondering why nutritional protocols don't work, and if you're wondering why what you're trying might not be getting you where you want to go, these are all of the pieces of all of the things that no one has ever told you or have misled you on what it really takes to get a body well. So great example, silly example. So thanks for, playing along there. So what we're going to do now, we have a few questions and comments. I do always want to end off and do the last few minutes of things that you want to talk about, you want to know more, you want to understand and or talk about or put on the wish list for upcoming master classes. So let's talk a little bit about what's in the chat already. And then if anyone else has any questions, we can totally add that to it. Okay, good. Let's see here what we have. Okay. Good. All right. So someone said they see the list of things, not concentric circles. So if you did not see the concentric circles, let me go back. I do apologize if you were just looking at not what we wanted. Let me see if I can find that. It's in the book, like I said, but in case you didn't see that, let me go find it. Hold on one second, because this is very, very important to what we're trying to show here. So give me a second to go back and let me share. Good. Go find it here. Excellent. Okay, good. So everybody see the concentric circles now. So this is what vitamin E looks like at the top, and this is what vitamin C looks like. And just a simple two-dimensional kind of drawing here. So you have the vitamin E with all the outer shells, with all the synthetic portions that are being extracted and sold as these synthetic over-the-counter vitamins. And then the stuff on the inside is where the real nutrient is. The cheap stuff is on the outside. The expensive stuff is on the inside. So why does the vitamin industry do this? Is because that's where the things are that cost less. So again, they're counting on you not knowing what the source is of your raw materials. So very, very important. Okay, good. The materials, as far as access to the ones online, I don't think I plan on taking those down. So they're educational articles. I've been using those for 30 years in my practice, so I haven't gotten any in trouble with those. I don't expect to get in any trouble. So those won't be going anywhere. Definitely the book is key, the Back to the Basics of Human Health. One more time, plug for that. If you haven't bought that book already, definitely a great resource. I've read it probably about 30 times now over my career. I reread it again just to do and deliver this masterclass, and it was just as amazing as from the first time I read it. It's also a great read to try and get others to kind of have more of an open mind and take a look at that what they might be doing is harming as opposed to helping. So I love that book. So you have that as a resource. Okay, good. We have some questions here about cysts and fibroid, what foods we should stay away from. Here's the thing about the foods is the problem is not a food thing. So all cysts and all fibroids are an accumulation of poisons and toxins. So the secret basically in designing a personalized wellness program is not only what to add in, but also what to take out. And what we're talking about here is taking out are the poisons, the toxins, and the contributing factors to what made the cyst and their fibroid itself. There is really no food per se that's going to help it. The only thing that will help it, or a key thing that will help it, as we talked about in the last masterclass, is the quality of food you're eating, making sure they're organic and clean. And then obviously we're going to be doing an entire masterclass on the subject of carbohydrates and their role and the significance they have in the woman's hormonal system. So what we're looking at here is the foods you shouldn't eat. So what's more important in cysts and fibroids is what's not to do as opposed to what to do. So what would I be doing? I'd be doing a detox, that a tailor-made personalized supplement protocol detox that I create for you. And then I would stop trying to expose myself to whatever created the fibroids and or the cyst in the first place, which again are these poisons in your drinking water, the chemicals that they're putting in your prepackaged foods, and even some of your good quality foods, such as your vegetables and that. So organic and clean living, that's key to fibroids and cysts. Stopping eating the sugar is key because that's part of what created it in the first place. So the number one hormonal imbalancer is sugar. So anyone with hormone problems I know has sugar problems or have eaten too much sugar either currently or in the past. So again, detox is in order to get out whatever the toxic residue that is in there. And then obviously it's more about taking the bad foods out of your diet more than it is that something to add in the form of refined carbohydrates and sugar. So if there's foods that would contribute, they would be the ones I would not eat. Okay. Any other questions? So we have the chat open here. Let's see if there's anything else. And then the next question here is it best to use raw unprocessed sugar? And the answer is kind of. So again, we're going to be talking about this in an entire masterclass, is the lies you've been told about sugar and carbohydrates and what healthy eating is and how a woman's body especially really works. So we're going to be talking about hormones, and the key components and the things you should be doing, the things you should not be doing, why you can't balance your hormones, why your hormones are working against you, how you got yourself into this situation, and what you need to do to get out of it. So as far as sugar, sugar is sugar. It doesn't matter if it's organic. It doesn't matter if it's refined. Of course, the organic sugar has less chemicals in it, but it's still sugar. So when people ask me that question, it's kind of like asking me, Dr. Lori, should I be, doing organic heroin or the synthetic heroin? And the problem is not whether it's organic or synthetic, the problem is that you're taking heroin. So that's the same answer to sugar. It's like there is no such thing as a good sugar. It's bad and non-optimum because of what makes sugar sugar. And that's going to be a whole masterclass in itself. So great question. All right, honey's no better. Honey is sugar. We're going to go back. I'll remind you here, as we said in the last masterclass, any food you eat can only be turned into 3 substances when it hits the stomach. It can only be turned into a protein, a fat, or a carbohydrate. And once a carbohydrate hits the stomach acid, it becomes sugar. So technically, the only thing you're eating is protein, fats, and sugars, not even carbohydrate, because they all get broken down the same. So there is no carbohydrate or sugar better than the other one. So if you eat meat, it gets turned into protein. If you ate a stick of butter, it gets turned into fat. And then if you ate anything, bread, pasta, rice, honey, any of it, it all gets turned to sugar because there is no protein in there. There is no fat in there. If there is, it's negligible. But the vast majority of that molecule turns into a sugar molecule. So that's the answer there. And this is going to be a whole masterclass, by the way. Let's see here. The last thing here is a comment. Thank you. Thank you for all of this. I definitely can see the pattern behind the illness in my life. That's amazing. That's exactly why we're doing this. This is for your benefit. So that's wonderful. So yes, it answers a lot. And I think that's hopefully why you're all watching is you want to know why. And I want to tell you why. And that's what we're doing here. You're not going to like the reasons why. You're not going to like, and neither was I, by the way. I was upset for the fact that I was being fooled. And at this point, I already had a chiropractic degree. So it's not like I was like 9 when I was being fooled. I already knew some things. It wasn't until I really got out and understood and into practice with chiropractic when I saw how a body works and I saw what my patients were eating and that if I had to keep giving them an adjustment and the adjustments weren't holding, I had to start asking the question is like, are you taking vitamins and what do you eat? And that led me down the rabbit hole of 30 years of getting into nutrition and functional medicine. It started out, again, as I had said, from this perfectionist attitude that I have is I couldn't get my chiropractic patients perfect. I couldn't get them there, nor could I keep them there. So I had to assume, as you're saying and you're seeing here, there had to be some other why component or reason I was missing. And then I found out based on what I know about diet, nutrition, and now vitamins and what you're learning, not only do you need to be on those foods and those vitamins, and also the quality of those is critical to getting any health improvement. So I'm so glad you're starting to see exactly what we're trying to achieve here. So that being said, we are going to wrap it up. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. We're going to be here again next week at the same time for our next masterclass. So I let the cat out of the bag. It's going to be a combination of the detriment of carbohydrates, the modern diet, and how that is creating all of your hormone issues. So if you're listening here, I would tell every single female you know to join in. If you need the link, you can definitely get that or we'll resend that. You are so very, very welcome. I appreciate you taking a time out of your busy schedule to be with me. So enjoy the rest of your evening and we will talk soon. Bye. Love you.